Vivienne fired Mara in front of the household staff and told the plus-size maid she was too stupid to know her place. Mara only asked for a signed handoff before surrendering her final trash bag. Then, a black burner phone inside it lit up. Move him from B4 before midnight. B4 had been sealed for 6 years. Mara took the emergency key and headed downstairs. Mara had not reached the basement stair when Vivienne ordered security to stop her. The captain stepped into her path, but Mara kept the emergency key in one hand and the black burner phone in the other. "You can take the phone after you document where it came from," she said. East Hall. Trash collected outside Ms. Rusk's private suite. 11:42. Vivienne came up behind the guards. Ivory heels striking the stone. "She stole it from my room." "Take it." Mara looked at the captain. "Not Vivienne. If she believes that, she should want the recovery record even more." Minutes earlier, Vivienne had fired her and called her a fat maid who did not know her place. Mara had refused to argue about dignity with a woman who had none to give. Now, the same men who watched her lose her job were waiting for the housekeeper to tell them how evidence should leave her hands. The captain pulled a clear evidence pouch from a cabinet. Mara held the phone back. "Room first." He wrote the suite number. "Time." He added it. "Finner." He wrote, "Mara Quinn." Only then did she place the phone inside and watch him seal it. The screen had gone dark, but she remembered the notification exactly. "Move him from B4 before midnight." Vivienne gave a cold laugh. "Adrian is missing, and we are letting housekeeping conduct an investigation." Mara faced her. "I'm not investigating you. I'm telling security that B4 has been sealed for 6 years, and a phone from your trash just named it." She turned to the captain. "If it means nothing, you lose 5 minutes. If it means something, you lose more by standing here." He tucked the pouch against his vest. "Show me the room." The service stair smelled of floor wax, old stone, and summer damp. Mara knew every sound there. The third step complained under heavy carts. The lower landing light needed 2 presses before it stayed on. The narrow door beside wine storage had been painted shut for years because she dusted around its untouched frame every Thursday. Tonight, the paint line was broken. A fresh gray scrape crossed the edge near the lock, and grit lay on a floor she had cleaned that morning. Mara stopped. This door was opened. Vivienne. Vivienne. Several steps above. Answered at once, or a careless cleaner scratched it. Mara pointed to the damage. "Then I scratched it from inside a corridor I haven't entered in 6 years." The captain crouched without touching anything. His attention moved from the scrape to Mara. "Where does this lead?" he asked. "Old service passage. Furnace room. B. Corridor." Mara indicated the camera above the wine hall. "That lens covers this doorway. After the first turn, there's no view until the boiler entrance." A guard frowned. "A blind spot. For cameras, not for housekeeping." Installers had left plaster dust along the hidden baseboard when the system went in, and Mara had cleaned it herself. Powerful men remembered lenses. Mara remembered what collected underneath them. She put the emergency key into the service door. Vivienne reached toward her arm. Mara stepped aside. "Don't." The captain moved between them. "Ms. Rusk, stay behind us." Vivienne stared at him. "Not. I live here." Mara opened the door. "So does Mr. Vescari. Apparently that hasn't helped anyone find him." Cold air came through the passage, A thin yellow line glowed beneath a door farther inside. Mara stopped again. That light shouldn't be on. The captain asked why. The B corridor was disconnected when the pipes were winterized. She did not turn a fact into a conclusion. Maybe power had been restored for legitimate work. Maybe not. They advanced single file. The captain first, and Mara behind him to direct the turns. Around the second corner sat a folding chair, a paper cup, and a fresh scuff where something heavy had passed. Photograph it before anyone moves it. The captain obeyed. Behind him, Vivienne stopped near the service entrance. Mara noticed and kept moving. B1 had a warped lower edge. B2 carried a rusted brass number. B3 opened onto an empty coal room. B4 stood at the end with new scratches around an old lock. Her cart stood abandoned at the top of the stairs. One gray glove hanging from the handle. It was ordinary housekeeping equipment. But tonight, it marked the last place anyone had expected the truth to begin. The captain tried his security keys. None fit. Mara raised the emergency key. Basement locks were standardized after the pipe break 8 years ago. Housekeeping kept one copy in case a line burst. He stared at her. Security has no copy. You had one. Renovation signed it out 3 months ago, and never returned it. Not according to my cabinet sheet. He looked back toward Vivienne. Then at the sealed burner phone. Who authorized renovation down here? Mara shook her head. That isn't my department. She would not guess, simply because everyone finally wanted her opinion. The captain stepped aside. Use your key. Mara inserted it into B4. The metal resisted halfway. Then turned with a hard click. The door moved only inches before striking something on the other side. A scrape came from the darkness. Then came a lower sound. Unmistakably human. The captain drew his weapon, but kept it aimed at the floor. Mara pushed again. Something moved behind the door. The captain raised one hand. But Mara was already studying the narrow opening. Whatever blocked the door dragged, rather than held firm. Someone's inside, she said. He leaned toward the gap. Mr. Vescari. Nothing answered for 2 seconds. Then a man coughed. Dry and rough. Open the damn door. Mara knew Adrian Vescari's voice, even stripped of its usual control. The captain shoved harder. A chair tipped inside. Giving them enough space to enter, Adrian sat against the stone wall, with one wrist loosely bound in front of him. His jacket gone, and his shirt wrinkled from confinement. He looked exhausted, furious, and unmistakably alive. 2 guards rushed forward. Adrian lifted his bound hands. Not her. His eyes went past the captain, past Vivienne at the far end of the passage, and settled on Mara, the woman with the key stays. Vivienne hurried closer. Adrian. Thank God. We've been searching everywhere. He did not answer her. He noticed the evidence pouch against the captain's vest. What is that? Mara answered before anyone could reshape the story. A burner phone recovered from the last trash bag I collected outside Ms. Rusk's private suite. Its locked screen displayed a message saying someone had to move a person from B4 before midnight. Adrian looked at the captain. Who touched it? Ms. Quinn found it. I sealed it. Recovery location documented. Yes. Adrian nodded toward Mara. Nobody opens that phone unless she is present. Vivienne's expression sharpened. You're taking the word of a maid caught stealing from me. Mara looked at her. You accused me after I requested a written handoff. That record exists whether you like me or not." The captain cut Adrian's restraint while a guard called the medical team. Adrian tried to stand and failed on the first attempt. Mara did not grab him. She stepped close enough to offer her forearm and waited. He gave a short nod, took the support, and used it to get his feet under him. The moment he found his balance, he released her. "Can you walk?" she asked. "Yes." "Then don't prove it by falling." A flicker of dry humor crossed his face, but it vanished when the captain began explaining the basement key. Renovation signed out the security copy 3 months ago, Mara said. Adrian's voice dropped to a near whisper. Nothing in his face moved, which made the fury worse. 3 months. The captain straightened as if the temperature around him had fallen. Adrian looked at the locked room, then at the men whose job had been to protect him. Someone kept a key to a sealed corridor under my own roof for 3 months, and nobody asked where it went. The medical team met them at the lower landing. While they checked Adrian, the captain started listing guards, gates, vehicles, and search teams. Adrian cut through it. "How did she find me?" The captain looked at Mara. "Her cleaning route," Mara clarified. "Broken paint on a sealed service door. Fresh grit after I cleaned the floor. Power restored in a dead corridor. And the missing security key." Adrian's gaze moved over the passage with a cold precision that made even armed men give him space. The anger was not loud. It was measured, contained, and worse for being contained. "You searched outside," he said to the captain. "Whoever did this counted on you believing danger could not live inside my house." Mara folded her hands. "Inactive rooms still leak. They still collect dust. Someone eventually has to enter them." Vivienne stepped forward. Or she created those contradictions herself. She had access everywhere. Mara answered evenly. "No, I had assigned access. B4 was sealed. The emergency key came from the housekeeping cabinet after the phone message appeared, and the phone conveniently appeared in my trash. Yes, that is why I documented it instead of hiding it." Adrian stayed quiet while Mara answered. She appreciated that more than an angry defense, she did not need a powerful man speaking for her. She needed one willing to keep powerful people from destroying what she could prove. Adrian turned to the captain. "No one removes Miss Quinn from this property, questions her alone, or alters any location she identifies until it is documented." Then he looked directly at Mara. "That protects the evidence. It does not make you my prisoner. If you want to leave, you leave." Mara nodded. "I'm staying until the chain is secure." A guard arrived from upstairs and whispered to the captain. 2 exterior teams were sent west an hour ago. Someone reported Mr. Vescari near the river warehouses. Adrian gave a quiet, humorless breath. Half my people were hunting me miles away while I was under their feet. The captain offered to lock every gate. Adrian looked at Mara. Would that solve anything? She pictured linen lifts, contractor stairs, pantry doors, laundry corridors, and all the places armed men rarely learned. Not if the person who did this never needed the front gate. Adrian asked her to walk him through the route, while security photographed each point. Mara separated facts from guesses as they moved broken paint, restored light, missing key, blind turn, fresh scuff. By the time they returned to the landing, Adrian no longer asked what security had searched. He faced Mara instead. You know this house. Who could reach B4 without ever appearing on their route? Mara answered before any guard could offer a theory. Anyone using renovation access could reach B4 without crossing the route your teams monitor. But access is not guilt. Adrian held her gaze, then nodded. Keep saying that when everyone else starts guessing. The medical team wanted him upstairs. He agreed, only after ordering the basement photographed before anything moved and banning detentions based only on job location. Vivian stood at the landing in her ivory coat. Adrian, you need rest. Let security handle this. He looked at her with a calm so cold it carried more threat than shouting. Security handled it. I was in a basement. No one answered. His attention returned to Mara. The fury was there. Sealed behind control. And every armed man nearby seemed to understand that the seal was deliberate. The east drawing room became a temporary command area because Adrian refused to vanish into his suite while half the estate wondered whether he was alive. Mara remained near the door until he motioned toward the long table. Show me the route. She checked the paper estate map the captain brought. This is old. He frowned. Updated last year. The laundry wall moved in March. The pantry contractor added a temporary passage in May. Neither is shown. Adrian turned to the captain. And your patrol plan uses this? The answer was yes. Mara traced the service spine behind the formal rooms. Housekeeping does not use this map. We use the building. Vivienne gave a dismissive breath. You are making domestic shortcuts sound like intelligence. Mara looked at her. No, I'm making them sound like doors. Vivienne's suite connected to the east service hall. The hall fed the staff stair. The stair reached the sealed corridor without passing the foyer. Security desk or vehicle court. A person could cross half the mansion and never appear on a patrol route if nobody recorded household movement. Adrian asked who knew the B corridor still connected. Housekeeping. Maintenance. Renovation contractors. Anyone with old plans. Possibly family members who grew up here, the captain asked. Vivienne Mara refused the shortcut. She lived here during renovation. That makes access possible. It does not prove use. Adrian leaned back. Tired, but focused. You keep separating what you know from what you suspect. Because if I mix them, whoever did this only has to disprove one guess to make people doubt the facts. The captain brought the renovation files. Mara recognized the company because she had signed cleaning releases after its crews finished each zone. 3 months earlier. One crew requested after-hours basement access for moisture inspection. Mara had objected because B corridor was not on the work order. Her note came back, stamped, approved, no, action required. Adrian asked who approved it. The captain searched the page. Mara stopped the name from becoming a conclusion. That still won't tell us who used the passage. We need the key record. Where Adrian asked. Housekeeping office. Paper cabinet. Second drawer. Vivienne laughed softly. Another cleaning form. Adrian's reply was quiet. A cleaning form found me before 30 armed men did. The menace in his restraint made the joke die where it stood. Mara retrieved the ledger with 2 guards following at a distance she chose. Her termination envelope still sat beside the time clock. Beneath it was Eleanor Price's business card. The regional director at Halcyon House Hotels had visited 6 weeks earlier and watched Mara solve a staffing collapse without humiliating a single employee. Eleanor had told her, "If you ever want a house that pays you for running it, call me." Mara slipped the card into her pocket. It was not rescue. It was a door she could open herself. when she returned. Adrian noticed the termination envelope. Were you actually fired? At 11:37? Vivienne answered his next question. As your fiancée. I manage the household when you're absent. Mara set down the ledger. That arrangement is between you. I only need my final pay corrected if the firing was invalid. Adrian told the estate attorney to preserve Mara's wages and benefits, then turned back to the evidence. The basement security key had been signed out during renovation and never returned. Mara's emergency copy remained sealed, except for 2 documented plumbing incidents. One missing key existed for 3 months. The captain said. Mara nodded. That still leaves who controlled it after checkout. Vivienne lifted her chin. My family recommended the contractor. That does not make me responsible for paperwork. Mara closed the ledger. She's right about that much. Adrian's eyes shifted to Vivienne, expressionless and dangerous. But he did not replace proof with anger. Then Mara noticed the contractor access sheet, listed West Loading, while the cleanup release she remembered had been signed in the East Service Hall. She asked for the original packet and compared dates. These crews weren't using the route security thanks. Adrian leaned forward. How do you know? Because I cleaned after them. She tapped the line item. June 17th. Plaster dust from their boot covers outside the East Linen Room. I complained because they tracked it across clean flooring. The East Linen Room sat 1 turn from the hidden service spine. Mara looked at Adrian. Someone reopened an interior passage during renovation, and security never updated the route. Adrian reacted at once. Then we document the route before anyone closes it again. He did not order Mara to lead. He asked whether she wanted to walk it or explain from the drawing room. I'll walk it once, she said. Then, I want copies of every photograph connected to my statement. Done. Vivienne objected. You are giving a dismissed employee access to an active investigation. Adrian faced her. I'm giving the person who found me the choice to explain what she already knows. He sent guards ahead to secure the passage and kept everyone else back until Mara was ready. No one touched the burner phone. It remained sealed in the captain's custody, and Mara insisted the seal number be read aloud before they left. The East Linen corridor told the story more clearly in daylight. Mara showed scratches on the baseboard where a temporary contractor barrier had once rested. The marks angled toward a paneled section most people assumed was decorative wall. Maintenance opens this. Not me. A technician removed 2 retaining screws and exposed an old service door. Adrian stayed several feet away. That connects to B corridor. Eventually, storage turn. Then, furnace passage. How do you remember? 15 years ago, a pipe burst behind that wall. I carried wet linen out through the shortest route for 6 hours. Adrian gave a tired half-smile. 15 years. 40 ruined sheets and wet shoes make a person remember. At the work table, they rebuilt the path from photographs rather than assumptions. Adrian sat across from Mara instead of standing over her. He asked what each mark meant. When he pointed to a dark streak near the hidden door, Mara corrected him. Old furniture, polish. Not recent damage. When the captain suggested a broken latch showed forced entry, she shook her head. That latch broke last winter. Adrian glanced at her. So the dramatic clues are mostly useless, usually. And the boring ones. They pay my rent. His expression softened for a second. It was not gratitude alone. He was learning how her mind worked. And Mara felt the difference between being admired and being taken seriously. The burner phone went next to an independent examiner brought in by the estate attorney, not by Adrian's personal security team or Vivian's family. Mara required the sealed pouch photographed before opening. The examiner read the seal number, confirmed it matched the captain's log, and asked Mara to state the recovery location. Final waste collection, outside Vivian Rusk's suite. East Service Hall, 11:42. The bag had already been placed at the pickup point. Did you enter the suite? Not on that collection. Her assistant put the bag outside. Vivian seized on it. So you never saw the phone in my room? Correct. I saw it in a bag assigned to your suite after the bag reached the hall. Mara would not stretch a fact beyond what it could carry. The examiner powered the device without bypassing its security. The cached lock screen notification remained visible. The message was genuine. Timestamped 11:39. 3 minutes before Mara documented finding the phone. The examiner could preserve technical details. But B4 meant something because Mara knew the estate. Adrian asked, could someone have dropped the phone into the bag after it left the suite? Mara nodded. Yes, there was a window of about 2 minutes. Vivian smiled. There, your miracle maid admitted it. Mara did not flinch. I admitted the limit of the evidence. Limits matter. The captain had hoped the phone would settle the case. Instead, it proved the message existed, without yet proving who put the device in the bag. Mara asked for the paper waste sheet. Each bag was marked by room group and collected in a fixed order to prevent carts crossing guest corridors twice. Vivian's bag fell between the blue guest room and private library. A staff signature placed Mara at the blue room at 11:40. Another worker crossed her near the library at 11:43. More importantly, Vivian's assistant had initialed the bag outside the suite at 11:38. The assistant was brought in as a witness, not a suspect. She confirmed, setting out a tied bag, and demonstrated the double-loop household staff used. Mara compared it to the recovery photograph. The bag now showed a single sideways contractor knot. Someone had reopened it after the assistant left. Mara checked the photograph again. A loose fiber from the suite's cream disposal liner still showed beneath the retied black cord, confirming it was the same assigned bag. Not a substitute, introduced later. Useful, she thought, but still not enough to name the hand that reopened it. Vivian stepped closer. Then, it is obvious. Mara had the bag, the route, the emergency key, and knowledge of B4. Her voice carried toward the arriving allies outside the room. The phone may be real. That only makes the setup better. Mara looked down at the photograph and collection sheet. The phone was genuine. The message was genuine. But the proof now carried an attack she could not dismiss with outrage. Whoever framed the story had chosen well. Make the invisible maid look clever enough to stage the rescue. And every sign of competence could be turned against her. Mara did not answer Vivian immediately. She looked at the photograph of the trash bag, the collection sheet, and her own time marks. The accusation worked because it was simple. Mara knew B4. Mara carried the bag. Mara held the emergency key. If she defended herself emotionally, she would only make Vivian's story louder. Then test the part I could not control, Mara said. Adrian leaned forward. Which part? She tapped the collection route. The bag sat outside the suite before I reached it. If someone reopened it, they had to know when my cart would pass. Vivian folded her arms. Any servant could know that. Mara shook her head. Not the exact sequence. I changed the East Floor pickup 3 weeks ago because your florist kept blocking the service corridor. The captain asked for the revised schedule. Mara told him where the master copy sat, then stopped him. Bring the original, not a printout from security. He understood. Someone had already exploited the difference between formal records and household reality. Another convenient copy would prove little. Allied representatives were gathering in the atrium, their voices carrying through the glass doors. Some wanted Adrian to appear immediately. Others wanted the estate sealed. Rocco Bellini, a lieutenant, entered without knocking and looked at Mara as if she were dirt on expensive flooring. This is the woman, the maid who found him, Adrian corrected him. Her name is Mara Quinn. Rocco ignored it. And now she is accused of planting evidence. Remove her until we sort this out. Mara watched Adrian. This was the first test of what his recognition meant under pressure. He did not raise his voice. No one removes a witness because you dislike her job title. Rocco hardened. We are hours from losing half the family's support. Then stop wasting those hours on rank. Adrian turned back to Mara. Continue. It was not rescue. It was space to speak in a room where men like Rocco assumed her voice was optional. The binder came. Mara opened to the revised route. Vivienne's suite had moved from first pickup to third, and the change never reached central security. The distribution list showed household management, Vivienne's assistant, event operations, and renovation, coordination. The old route put me at her door around 11:35. The new route put me there around 11:42. Mara said. Whoever inserted the phone after the assistant tied the bag had to know the revision or risk the bag already being gone. The captain asked whether Mara herself could have exploited that timing. Of course, which is why the timing alone does not clear me. She lifted the photograph. But this bag was retied with a contractor knot. Household bags use double loops because single pulls slip off cart hooks. Rocco gave a skeptical laugh. A knot proves conspiracy. No. It proves the bag was handled in a way that did not come from our normal procedure. The renovation supervisor joined by video and demonstrated how his crews tied debris bags, the same sideways single pull visible in the photograph. It still did not identify who touched Vivienne's trash, but it narrowed the problem. Access sheets showed one subcontractor had entered that morning for a final paint inspection, even though renovation was supposedly complete. His badge record placed him at West Loading. Mara asked whether anyone physically saw him there. No one had. Adrian stared at the map. Another route that exists on paper but not necessarily in the building. The subcontractor's phone went straight to voicemail. Vivienne seized the opening. A missing contractor. A maid with keys. And a phone in my trash. It sounds like two people working together. Some men in the room were no longer skeptical. They were calculating whether sacrificing one housekeeper would stabilize the night. Adrian noticed. He ordered Mara's employment records and personal devices left alone, unless she consented or legal process required them. Rocco objected. We cannot protect her privacy if she is a suspect. Adrian looked at him with the same quiet menace he had carried out of B4. Suspicion is not ownership. Rocco stopped talking. Mara did not thank Adrian. She kept working. The subcontractor's form claimed he entered at 10:55, carrying painting supplies. Yet Mara had seen no paint waste in the west bins. If he worked there, he left something. Tape, plastic, solvent, rags. Contractors always leave something. The disposal cages showed nothing from the claimed west job. Mara checked the linen return sheet instead. Old drop cloths had been issued under a renovation code at 11:10 and returned at noon to the East Laundry Room. He never worked west, she said. He came through the service spine. Adrian understood. The same person, with access to the hidden corridor, was inside the East Wing minutes before the phone appeared. The captain sent guards to locate the subcontractor and verify legitimate entry records. Vivienne stepped closer. You are very good at making ordinary mess look important. Mara met her eyes. Ordinary mess tells you who was actually there. The estate attorney entered with worse news. The midnight gathering would proceed on schedule. If Adrian could not establish a coherent account before then, several allies intended to place temporary authority in a committee until his disappearance was explained. Rocco supported the idea immediately. Vivienne said nothing. Mara looked at the clock. Less than 3 hours remained. The missing boss had been found. But the house was still being taken apart by a story designed to make every useful fact look suspicious. And now Mara's own credibility had become part of the deadline. Adrian moved the investigation into the smaller estate office so the atrium would not become a courtroom before the evidence was ready. Mara arranged the binner. Route sheets and photographs in chronological order. The captain returned with news that the missing subcontractor's vehicle had been found at a commuter lot 6 miles away. No sign of the man. More troubling. One of Adrian's allies had already circulated a message calling the burner phone contaminated household evidence. Mara looked at Adrian. Who saw the phone before it was sealed? You. The captain, Vivienne, and 2 guards. Then someone is selling a conclusion faster than we are, building facts. Adrian understood. The fight was no longer only about B4. It was about who could define the evidence first. The estate attorney proposed moving the burner phone into a central evidence vault. Mara objected. No. Rocco smiled without humor. Mara ignored him. The independent examiner already opened and resealed it under documented custody. Moving it again before the atrium presentation creates another transfer for no reason. The attorney argued the vault looked more secure. Mara answered, It also puts the phone under control of people arguing about whether I planted it. Adrian looked at the clock. The incoming messages, and the allied representatives waiting upstairs. He was drained, politically cornered, and angry. For the first time since the basement, impatience won. Move it, he said. Full signatures. 2 witnesses. Mara stared at him. That is exactly what I told you not to do. I heard you. No. You heard the words and chose the system with more status over the cleanest chain. The phone left with the attorney, captain, and witnesses. 20 minutes later, an ally demanded preliminary inspection. The vault custodian returned with the transfer envelope and discovered its outer numbered strip did not match the first handoff form. One witness remembered a number beginning with 8. The form showed a 6. Nobody could explain the discrepancy immediately. Vivienne arrived in time to see the confusion. How unfortunate, she said. The one object connecting my suite to B4 is now compromised. Mara looked at Adrian. He knew exactly what his decision had cost. The independent examiner confirmed by phone that the device identity, lock screen message, and original photographs remained valid. The later transfer dispute could attack what happened after examination, but it could not erase the first documented state. Mara listened, then said, The phone is still the main proof. But now we need the original recovery chain so clean that this mistake cannot swallow it. Adrian asked, "What do you need first?" "Admit, you made it harder." He did. "No excuse. I thought the higher status system would look stronger. You warned me the transfer was unnecessary. I overruled you." Mara did not let the admission become absolution. "If this were only about me, I would leave now. What is it about your staff? If this collapses, powerful people will blame whoever carried bags and opened closets because they can." The captain brought a list of employees. Vivienne's attorney wanted questioned before midnight. 2 housekeepers. A laundry attendant. Leonard. The older maintenance worker who signed the winterization sheet. None controlled renovation authority. But all had enough proximity to become convenient. Adrian set the list down. No detentions without specific evidence. Rocco objected. "Then, how do you show strength tonight?" Adrian's voice stayed low. "By not confusing fear with proof." Mara was not ready to reward him for reaching the right answer late. They rebuilt the original chain from the moment she saw the phone light up public firing. Her request for a signed handoff. The captain's first recovery log. The original seal. Hallway footage showing Mara never left the service corridor. And the examiner's photographs of the notification before the vault transfer. Those facts survived. Then Eleanor Price called. Mara recognized the name from the business card in her pocket. Eleanor had heard Mara was no longer employed at the estate and made the offer plainly, executive housekeeping director at Halcyon House. A better salary, a furnished relocation apartment, and an immediate start. No Vescari connection. Mara asked for the terms in writing. The email arrived within minutes. Adrian saw only the subject when her phone lit up. A job. A real one. Good. Mara looked at him. Good. You should have somewhere to go that does not depend on me. He did not ask to read it. Did not offer more money. And did not tell her loyalty required staying. Mara gathered the route sheets. Then, understand this. I will get you through midnight, because I will not let your staff be sacrificed for a crime they did not commit. After that, I am done being useful only when powerful people need me. Adrian did not stop her. He stood beside the table, still carrying the cold anger of a man who had been imprisoned under his own roof. But he did not turn that anger against the woman setting a boundary. Outside, the first bell announcing the midnight gathering rang through the atrium. Mara looked toward the doors. The proof was wounded but alive. So was the choice she had been waiting years to have. The first bell was still echoing when Mara carried her route sheets back to the housekeeping office. The midnight gathering would not begin for another 90 minutes. But allied representatives were already taking positions upstairs, each measuring Adrian's weakness against his own advantage. Mara had rebuilt the original recovery chain, shown why the vault mistake did not erase the phone's first documented state, and identified the renovation route security missed. None of that changed one fact. She had been fired in public and valued only after the house nearly collapsed. Eleanor Price's written offer sat open on her phone. Executive housekeeping director. Higher salary. Furnished apartment. Immediate start. No Vescari name attached. Mara read it twice. Then typed one sentence. I accept. Subject to the written terms already provided. Eleanor replied within minutes. A Halcyon car could collect Mara at the south gate before 10:30. Adrian entered, while Mara packed 2 pairs of shoes, a cardigan, and the framed photograph beside her supply cabinet. He stopped in the doorway, instead of walking into her small office uninvited. "You took the offer?" "Yes." "When do you leave?" "Tonight." Adrian could have ordered the gates closed. He could have invented a security reason to keep her inside until morning. Instead, he said, "There will be a car at the gate if you want one. If you prefer theirs, use theirs. If you want no escort, you get no escort." Mara looked at him. "Nobody follows me. Nobody. No one calls the hotel. No. No one decides I owe this house because I found you. No." That was when Mara understood the difference between a powerful man saying he respected her and a powerful man giving up the easiest ways to control her. Adrian placed her corrected termination envelope on the edge of the desk without crossing farther inside. Wages corrected. Benefits through the month. No condition attached. The amount was right. No bonus to purchase gratitude. No private settlement. No silence clause. "You learned something," she said. "Not enough." No. He accepted that, but enough not to make leaving harder. Mara folded the envelope into her bag. Attraction was dangerous when it arrived, wrapped in relief. And she did not confuse one decent decision with complete repair. Still, restraint looked different. On a man everyone else feared, she walked toward the south wing alone. Staff members watched her pass, near the service elevator. Mrs. Alvarez twisted a dish towel between her hands. "Are they really questioning us tonight?" Mara stopped. "Only with specific evidence. That is not what Miss Rusk's lawyer told us." Mara's attention sharpened. "Mrs. Alvarez said the lawyer had warned that people with basement access would be brought before the gathering, and that cooperation would protect their families. The names included her. Leonard from maintenance, Kayla from nights, and 2 others. None controlled the missing renovation key. All worked routes. Powerful people rarely noticed." Mara felt the shape of the substitute story before she saw the paperwork. At 10:22, she reached the south vestibule. The halcyon car waited beyond the gate. Engine running. A guard stood beside the inner door but did not block her. Adrian had kept his word. On a console beneath the intercom sat a packet left for security. Mara would have passed it if Leonard's name had not caught her eye. Persons, for internal review. The supporting notes came from Vivienne's attorney. Each worker had ordinary proximity to the service system. None had authority over renovation access. Their weakness was simpler. They could be blamed without threatening anyone important. Mara looked through the open gate at the waiting car. Freedom was no longer an idea. She could take 20 steps and leave. She called Eleanor. "I need to delay departure." "How long?" 2 hours. "Maybe less?" Eleanor asked. "Are they forcing you to stay?" Mara looked at the open gate. "No. That's why I'm staying." She ended the call and turned to the guard. "Give me that packet." The choice cost her something real now. She had a safe job, a car, and a life beyond Vescari walls waiting outside. She was not staying because Adrian had frightened, bought, or persuaded her. She was staying because the people on that list would not get the same chance to walk away if Vivienne controlled the story first. Adrian was speaking with the estate attorney when Mara returned. He saw her travel bag still over her shoulder and did not smile. "Did something happen?" She handed him the list. "Vivienne is building a substitute story. If the phone chain survives," she says, "household workers planted it. If it fails," she says, "those same workers exploited weak security. Either way, people without status pay." Adrian read the names. You do not owe them this. I know. You do not owe me this. I know that too. Mara set down her bag. I'm not staying because you asked. I'm staying because I will not leave while she turns invisible workers into convenient criminals. The second bell sounded above them. Mara faced the atrium doors. The house had ignored her for years. Now it would have to hear her on terms she chose herself. If I go back in. We do this my way. Adrian answered without hesitation. Name the terms. Mara had expected resistance. Or at least, negotiation. Instead, she found herself standing with a Mafia boss who had spent most of his life being obeyed and was now asking what authority he had to surrender. First, nobody questions household staff alone. They get counsel or a neutral witness. Adrian nodded. Done. Second, the burner phone stays where it is until the independent examiner presents the original photographs and device identity. Done. Third, I present the recovery chain. Not your captain. Not your attorney. Me. Adrian looked toward the atrium, where voices were rising. You found it. You understand it. You present it. Mara continued. Fourth, if Rocco, or anyone else, interrupts me because they dislike what I say, you do not answer for me. You make them let me finish. Adrian's expression barely changed. That one I can do very well. Mara almost smiled. Fifth, after tonight, I still leave if I choose. The gate stays open, even if this works. Especially if it works. She studied him for a hidden bargain and found none. There was exhaustion, anger at himself, and something more disciplined than possession. Adrian pointed toward the service entrance. Do you want a driver afterward? Mara considered it. No escort. I'll call Halcyon when I'm ready. Then no escort. The answer mattered, because everyone in the estate knew what Adrian could force. The danger in him had not disappeared. It had become more visible after B4. What changed was where he chose not to use it. They worked at the long table for the next 40 minutes. Mara stripped the presentation down until every step could be understood once. She rejected 3 pages of security language and replaced them with 6 physical facts. Vivienne's bag had been placed outside the suite at 11:38. It was later found retied with a contractor-style knot. Mara's revised route placed her there around 11:42. The burner notification appeared at 11:39, the message named B4. A room officially sealed for 6 years. Mara's emergency key opened it, and Adrian was inside. Everything else renovation, access. The missing security key. The reopened passage supported that chain, without replacing the phone as the main proof. Adrian listened, while Mara rehearsed once. He did not correct her phrasing. He only asked, "Where will they attack?" Mara pointed to the interval outside the suite. "They will say I inserted the phone myself." Answer. "I cannot prove from the phone alone that I did not." Adrian frowned. "That sounds weak." "It sounds true." "Then I show why their version creates a different problem. If I planned the rescue, I had to know you were in B4 before I opened the basement route. My knowledge of B4 explains why I understood the message. It does not explain why the message existed, why the bag was reopened, or why a renovation key vanished 3 months earlier." Adrian nodded. "No shortcuts. Not tonight." The captain entered with an update. The missing subcontractor had been located at a roadside motel. His attorney confirmed he performed unauthorized interior work during the renovation period and was preparing a signed statement. Rocco immediately wanted the information announced as proof of conspiracy. Mara refused. Not until it is authenticated. Rocco stared at her. We finally find the man, and you want to leave him out until he gives us something we can verify. Yes, Adrian supported her without taking over. We present what we can prove. Rocco muttered that the midnight gathering would punish hesitation. Mara met his eyes. Then let it punish accuracy. I am done watching powerful people fill gaps with whoever is easiest to blame. When Rocco left, Adrian leaned against the table. He hates being corrected by you. That sounds like a private problem. Adrian laughed once. Quietly. The sound surprised both of them. Then he said, When you walk out tonight, I will not ask where you are going. Mara looked at him. You already know the hotel. I mean after that, if you want me in your life. You tell me. If you do not, I accept it. The attraction Mara had refused to name moved through her with dangerous warmth. This time, she made the choice. She reached across the table and took his hand for one brief second. Get through midnight first. She released him before either could turn the moment into a promise. The captain returned to announce that the atrium was ready. Household staff would stand along the east side instead of being hidden in service corridors. Mara approved. If their names are discussed, they hear what is said. Adrian walked with her, only to the entrance. Beyond the glass waited capos, allied representatives, attorneys, security, housekeepers, and maintenance workers. Where do you want me? He asked. Mara looked at the central floor, beside the evidence table. Not in front of me. He moved exactly where she asked. Mara entered, carrying the presentation folder herself. Mrs. Alvarez and Leonard stood among the staff. Adrian remained several feet behind her, close enough to enforce procedure and far enough not to steal the scene. Then the opposite doors opened. Vivian entered in ivory, flanked by her attorney and two allied representatives. She glanced toward Adrian, then toward the household workers. Wearing the confidence of a woman who believed Mara Quinn was already on her way to another city. She did not see Mara beside the evidence table until she reached the center of the atrium. Vivian stopped 3 steps inside the atrium. The fired housekeeper she expected to be gone stood beside the evidence table with the sealed burner phone. Recovery, photographs, and collection sheet. Adrian remained behind Mara. Not beside her. Vivian's attorney recovered first. I object to allowing an employee under suspicion to control the narrative. Mara answered him herself, then challenged the evidence when I present it. Rocco expected Adrian to take over. Adrian did one thing. She finishes without interruption. After that, every challenge gets heard. Mara looked toward the workers along the east wall. Then she began. At 11:38, Vivian Rusk's assistant placed one tied trash bag outside the private suite. At 11:42, I collected it on my revised route. Mara held up the first photograph. The assistant had described a double loop, the knot used by household staff. The photograph taken before the bag was opened showed a single, sideways contractor pull. That knot does not identify a criminal. It tells us the bag was reopened after the assistant placed it outside. Mara moved to the recovery record. The phone was sealed after I requested documentation. Its lock screen showed a message sent at 11:39. Move him from B4 before midnight. 3 minutes before I found it. Vivian raised one hand, and she knew what B4 was. Yes, Mara said. That is why the message meant something to me. She turned the estate map. B4 had been officially sealed for 6 years. Security did not patrol the hidden service route. Housekeeping knew it existed because sealed rooms still needed maintenance. The basement ledger showed the security key had been signed out during renovation 3 months earlier and never returned. Mara's emergency copy remained sealed until tonight. I opened B4. Adrian Vescari was inside. The phone named a real place and a real captive before I reached the room. Vivienne's attorney stepped forward. That still allows Ms. Quinn to have planted it. Mara nodded. If you stop there. She placed the renovation packet beside the route sheet. The missing subcontractor had provided a signed statement through outside counsel. He did not claim to know who confined Adrian. He identified who ordered the East Passage reopened and diverted the basement key. Mara read the relevant line. Ms. Vivienne Rusk instructed me to leave the basement key in a sealed project envelope at her private suite, which is why his statement is supporting authentication, not the main proof, Mara said. She placed the original renovation release beside the statement. It carried the same job number, the B corridor addition, and Vivienne's counter-signature. This document does not prove confinement by itself either. It verifies that the key route in his statement ends where he says it ended. Mara returned one hand to the table beside the burner phone. The phone is still the object that named B4 while Adrian was inside it. The supporting records connect the hidden route and missing key to the suite where the phone appeared. A frightened contractor can write anything, Vivienne said. Then challenge him formally. But you cannot explain this sequence by calling 4 housekeepers criminals. Mara lifted the review packet Vivienne's attorney had prepared. Mrs. Alvarez handled laundry. Leonard handled winterization. Kayla cleaned nights. They had proximity because that was their work. None could authorize contractors. Alter renovation, access, or receive the missing security key. You were asked to treat access as guilt only when the people with access were easy to sacrifice. Mara laid out the chain one final time. The phone appeared in waste assigned to Vivienne's suite. The bag had been reopened. The phone named B4 before Mara opened it. B4 was reached through a passage reopened under Rusk Renovation Authority. The missing key was diverted to Vivienne's suite under her instruction. Adrian was behind the door. Then Vivienne's side produced a list of household workers to blame. The independent examiner confirmed the phone matched the device, photographed before the later vault transfer. The captain confirmed the first seal. Basement ledger. And Adrian's recovery. Outside, counsel confirmed the contractor statement, and renovation release had been preserved independently. The later vault seal mistake remained a failure. But it could not rewrite the documented recovery. Mara had made the proof's limits visible, which made the surviving chain harder to attack. No one interrupted her now. Vivienne looked toward Adrian as if their alliance could still rescue her. You know what my family brought to this house. Adrian waited until Mara had finished. I do, and I know what it cost. He terminated the engagement arrangement, revoked Vivienne's estate access, suspended every Rusk-linked contract, and ordered the evidence turned over to outside counsel for formal investigation into his confinement and related fraud. No threat followed. No private revenge was promised. Mara turned instead to Mrs. Alvarez and Leonard. Your names are removed from the accusation unless actual evidence puts them back. Adrian confirmed it publicly, after the allies dispersed. Mara gathered the photographs herself. Adrian approached only when she looked up. "You cleared my house," he said. "No." Mara slid the burner phone photograph into the folder. "I showed your house what it had ignored." Adrian accepted the correction. He looked toward the service corridor, where she had moved unnoticed for years. "Then, clearing your name still does not repair what I did." Mara picked up her travel bag. "No, it doesn't, for once." There was no emergency left to hide behind. Before dawn, Vivienne learned what losing Vescari protection actually meant. Adrian ordered security to escort her from the estate that night. But he did not let the exit become a spectacle of violence. Her documented personal property went with her. Jewelry, designer pieces, and household items purchased and owned by the Vescari estate remained inventoried inside until council sorted ownership. Vivienne argued at the front hall while staff watched from a distance. No one touched her beyond guiding her toward the door when she refused to move. In the end, she left through the rain, carrying only a plain canvas tote and one personal suitcase. The image she had used as armor was gone. What remained was a woman without the borrowed authority she had used against everyone beneath her. By morning, the estate looked the same from outside. Inside, its structure had changed. Adrian called the household staff into the atrium. Mara attended because her name and work had to be corrected, not because she had agreed to stay. Adrian stood where Vivienne had fired her earlier. Mara Quinn was dismissed by someone who did not have the authority to erase her work. And I allowed a system where her knowledge could be ignored because of her position. He looked toward the staff. "Not Mara. That failure belongs to me." He restored Mara's employment record, corrected her wages, and removed romantic partners and social guests from employment authority over household staff. The estate attorney then described a new reporting structure for legitimate Vescari properties. Household operations would control interior access records, contractor, release procedures, emergency keys, and service route documentation. Security could no longer override those records because a report came from someone without rank. Mara had helped design the changes that night, but she refused to let Adrian name them after her. Systems should work, even when the person who saved them eventually left. Rocco Bellini also lost oversight of household operations after supporting unsupported detention of staff. The evidence remained with outside counsel for formal review. Adrian gave no order for retaliation. Vivienne's consequence would come through lost access, exposed conduct, and lawful investigation, rather than private revenge. At noon, Mara expected to leave for Halcyon House. Instead, the estate attorney asked her to review a separate proposal. Adrian did not sit in on the meeting. The document created a permanent director of estate operations position inside Vescari Estate Services. It gave Mara independent hiring and removal authority over household operations, veto power over interior access changes, custody authority over physical access records, and voting equity in the company. Her authority could not be revoked because Adrian disliked a personal decision. A governance clause required cause and independent review for removal. Mara read every page twice. Adrian waited outside until she invited him in. "You understand I may still take the Halcyon job?" she said. "Yes. This offer remains mine, even if you and I never have dinner." "Yes." "No engagement clause. No residence requirement." "Correct." Mara looked at the section covering Vescari House. The family trust and estate services would share governance, with Mara holding equal authority over household access and legitimate property operations. Yesterday I was fired for knowing too much about your hallways. Adrian looked at the contract. Yesterday, the wrong people believed ownership meant understanding. And today the person who understands the house gets authority to run it. Mara signed only after the attorney confirmed her equity and governance rights survived any romantic separation. She did not become anyone's decorative queen. She became the woman whose authority was written into the structure everyone else had to respect. That evening, Mara called Eleanor Price herself. You thanked her for the offer and declined it. Eleanor asked whether Adrian had convinced her to stay. Mara looked toward a staff meeting where the new access procedures were already being implemented. No, she said. The terms did. When the call ended, Adrian stood several feet away. Was that your choice? Completely? Then I have one personal question, and it has nothing to do with this house. Would you have dinner with me somewhere? You are free to leave. Mara gave him a long look. One dinner. One. No guards at the next table. None. No. Fake fiancé. A trace of embarrassment crossed his face. Reasonable. And if I say no to something, you do not turn protection into an argument. No means no. Mara stepped closer because she chose to. Then you may ask me one more thing. Adrian did not presume. May I kiss you? She touched the front of his coat and pulled him down just enough to meet her. The kiss was brief, warm, and entirely hers to stop. When she did, he stayed where she left him. Dinner first, Mara said. I heard you. They walked toward the front entrance together, but Adrian did not guide her by the arm or call for a car until she asked. Outside, the estate lights came on one floor at a time, including the service corridors. Nobody would be permitted to dismiss again. Mara had entered Vescari house years earlier with a cart, a ring of keys, and knowledge. Important people never bothered to notice. She ended the longest night of her life with authority over the system she had already been holding together. Ownership that did not depend on romance. And a man powerful enough to understand that keeping her required giving her every real chance to leave. She had stayed because leaving had finally been allowed. Would you have stayed to expose the truth after finally being given a safe way out?